Hi folks, this is Don Schaeferr. Once again, I'm excited to be with you. Last week we talked about an interesting subject called making life easier. We talked about the fact that God wants to bless, and we need to allow ourselves to be in a position where we can receive the blessings of God. And I know we talked about creating an atmosphere, a positive one, that God can enter into, because once we get negative, once we start complaining, once we start murmuring, all of a sudden it gets an atmosphere that God really can't bless. And that if we can get ourselves in the right way with God, we can allow blessings to happen. And also we need to be blessing minded. We need to be able to look at our life and say, you know what, that was a blessing from God. Because I know just the other day I went to a place and there was construction going on and cars parked all over the place. And I drove up and there was a parking spot right in front. And I walked in and I told the people, I said, you know what? I am blessed. I have found a parking spot right in front of the place. There's a lot of ways that God wants to bless us. And a lot of times when we acknowledge the fact that we are being blessed, we open up areas and avenues that God can continue to pour blessings in. And I'm a firm believer that God has more blessings than we will ever be able to use. And that's where we talked about making life easier. And that's what God really wants to do. He wants to bless our life, but we need to be in the right attitude. We need to be able to declare the blessings of God and acknowledge the fact that we are blessed and be able to see things in our life as blessings. Well, this week I want to talk about another subject, and it's called a new start. And it's an interesting subject because, you know, God in His creation has given us the ability to start over. I know when He was on this earth, He talked about becoming born again, being able to take the book on your life that you've had up until this point and not just throw away a chapter, but throw away the whole book and start a new life. Being able to live in a fresh way and in a new way. And that's where each one of us, sometimes we have opportunities in our life where we can change, where we can say, hey, you know what? You know, I'm full of pressure, I'm full of depression, I'm full of guilt, I'm full of a lot of things that are just destroying me. You know what? I want to come to a place where I can start over. And that's the beauty of God. I had a friend named Joe. This was back in the 1980s. That I got to witness this in his life. This was a guy, he used to be a health inspector in the city of Chicago. He hung around with Mayor Daley. He had one time, he told me that he met John F. Kennedy with Mayor Daley at the airport, had soup with him. So he had been around. But the guy had how would you say, a rougher way about him. He ended up in our area, and his wife divorced him. And because of the way Joe was and the fact that they didn't trust him and didn't know what he was going to do as far as this divorce is concerned, they sent out the SWAT team because they were fearful of what Joe might do. Well, it was in the process of all this going on that Joe found God, and he found another avenue, and it completely changed his life. All of a sudden he was excited about things again. It was just like he had a new beginning, a new start. He started sitting down. I remember this, sitting at the Fox River Mall, and he would talk to young people about his findings in God. And a lot of times he would pick me up, and we'd put together studies where I'd sit down and talk to these young people about the things of God. Joel was an amazing man, but he had a new start in life. And that's the same thing that can happen for you. You know, I mean, no matter where you're at, even if you've walked in the things of God, a lot of times we need to say, hey, you know what? I need something fresh here, because, you know, my life just is not exciting, or it's not going anyplace. See, God wants beautiful things for all of us. He's got a big plan for each and every one of you, and that's why I often mention to people, you need to think about the fact that, you know, you can start over at any time with God. You know, He is there for you, and He's wanting to do beautiful things. And I want to thank you this week for being with me, and I want you to think about this. Perhaps one of you need a new start in life. If you do, He's at the door. Just open it. Talk to you again next week. Stay in there. Thank you. Bye-bye.